How's it going, everybody? I've been doing some thinking lately and just watching traditional sports quite a bit. And something that we do a lot in traditional sports for those that watch, especially here over in the States, are things like ESPN and SportsCenter and like non-stop shows. The amount of rotation of the same 4 programs all day, every day on ESPN, where they talk about things like contract changes, roster swaps, players going from one team to a different, free agencies, all those types of things are arguably pretty important, right? Like, I think you guys all agree that that stuff's really important, both for the direct impact it has as well as the secondary. Like, all the stuff that applies towards like our subreddit, when a certain change or something comes out and there's a rumor that applies, and then all of a sudden there's this entire conversation where everybody that is sitting there talking is really good for the esport. It's actually super important for the growth and the longevity and everything that this esport has to do. And there's a reason why traditional platforms have been doing it forever. Like, they make and kind of pull some of the like awful takes and all the things that they do, and they like dissect every little minute thing that like the quarterback for the team that I follow says, and they turn that into like a 3-hour show. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but people are invested in the like celebrity status of these players and who they are and all that kind of stuff. And those kind of conversations are, over the last couple of years, getting bigger and bigger. If you guys don't know who I'm alluding to or who I'm talking about, it's Shift. Shift arguably puts in the time, effort, work in providing us, the community, information about what's going on behind the scenes when it comes to roster changes, rumors, who's going and where, what's happening. Like, they do a really important job, whether people like it or not, whether pros agree with it or not. And I think the journalistic integrity has been in question sometimes. Overall, they've been super accurate with their reporting, and it's super important, the things that they do, because it provides the community, especially during trade windows, roster locks, and everything else, things to discuss and talk about. It gets people excited. I think we could all arguably agree what Shift is doing is super important. And while, yes, it may upset a couple people here and there, and some of the things like I talk about, that journalistic integrity of like confirming like, hey, are we allowed to put this out? Hey, there's this organization that we should probably let do their announcement. Things like that that kind of leave a bad taste in my mouth. But overall, like 99% of things Shift does, thumbs up. Absolutely love it, because I think it's super important. It allows the community as a whole to become more invested in the space and talk and discuss about future changes, what things may happen. Like, yo, X player is potentially going to leave this team and go to this other team. Do I like that? Do I think that player is going to perform better or worse? Do I think that roster is making a good decision? But just having those conversations and having people invested in the game and the competitive space would not be at the level it is today without Shift, without a doubt. Nobody's perfect. I'm not. But like overall, like what they've done is actually huge for this game. And I don't think people realize how big it truly is. It is a massive thing. And finally, the hard work of Achilles, J-Ski, and everybody else over there is being rewarded from the looks of it. For those that do not know, there is an esports organization by the name of Rix.gg that actually has a parent company called X1 Esports Company, who I personally, up until this point, have never heard of. They are beginning to do some trade exchanges and stuff on the Canadian Securities Exchange, but I don't care about that. What I actually care about is their parent company of Rix has made more acquisitions recently, and one of them is the Rocket League community Shift and the influencer management firm Tyrus Talent, which is pretty important. If you guys don't understand, Shift right now operates out of their own free will, and they operate out of their own budget. Like, unless they have like a website, which they do now, and obviously they have a lot of articles that they've been putting out and drive traffic to that and get ad revenue, they aren't monetarily making any money, to my knowledge. They don't have any funding, any backing, and that does tend to limit a lot of the things that they can do. Again, a lot of these people are doing the volunteer work. Look at Liquipedia, for example. Liquipedia as a site is the lifeblood behind Rocket League esports. Without Liquipedia, no one knows when the heck people are playing. Nobody knows the results. Nobody knows. Basically, what I'm trying to get at is Psyonix, you promised us a new website that was going to make us want to be on that website more than Liquipedia. at the beginning of the year for this season, and it's almost August. Where is it? Jokes aside, for Shift, it intrigues me what could be with financial backing. And it's got me thinking, what is it going to mean for Shift with funding and the ability to dedicate to it as a full-time profession potentially? I'm not sure what kind of funding they're getting or what kind of support they're getting from this X1 Esports Co. / Rix.GG parent company. But it interests me of what it could turn into. The curiosity of what it applies to, the lack of stress of having to find someone to back them, and now they can put some of that allocation into maybe more regular articles. Maybe they can spend more time diving into the specifics. Maybe not only are they going to give us roster changes, but they're also going to get interviews. Maybe, just maybe, they'll also be able to do press. By the way, they have. There was 2 people that Psyonix let in to do press conferences outside of the standard like outlets, Shift and myself. And seeing like J-Ski and Achilles and all those guys, Achilles obviously does all the roster stuff, and they have other people that come in and help them with the like more press and the writing stuff. But you're starting to see these articles and these conversations with people the players are more familiar with. The entire time I did those press conferences, Psyonix would go to introduce me, and I would just peek my head around the guy in front of me, and I'd be like, hey guys. And the players would immediately perk up because they recognize somebody, and they're more comfortable in having these conversations. And it applied to Shift as well. People recognize in this community what Shift is and who they are and what they do. And being able to take someone like J-Ski, who sits in and is endemic to this scene, and be able to ask questions and get information, it actually really excites me of what could be the future. Because I think one of the major things lacking from Rocket League esports in particular is the in-depth, both off-season and post-event conversation. The recaps, the deep diving, the contract information, all the specifics that I think a lot of people will, once it comes out, if it ever comes out, will help with the professionalism and the building and creating a precedent or a standard in the way things progress for the esport. Like, I think it's so important not allowing certain people, whether it be organizations or otherwise, to get away with scummy behavior. Like releasing X player doing this type of thing, or these players decide to just kick this person to the curb last. Like that kind of stuff is going to be things that I think Shift is going to be able to dive into a little bit more deeply when it comes to adding a level of professionalism to the space. And I think that's huge. I mean, when it's a multi-billion-dollar industry in esports, obviously Rocket League is a small like niche part of that, but it's growing and getting more and more serious. And I think long-term is going to be really good for Shift. They're putting in the groundwork now, so when Rocket League does start to ascend to that tier 1 status and does become mainstream, because I think many of us agree in the Rocket League community that the only thing holding back Rocket League esports as a tier 1, as one of the greatest esports in the world, is Psyonix. Like, as long as the developer keeps putting in the efforts and keeps trying to ascend Rocket League to the status, which arguably in the last 2 seasons they've done a very good job of, people like Shift are going to be the ones that benefit heavily. So I see this as an investment from the X1 Esports company, as a very smart decision, and I'm surprised it actually took this long. Like, I look at the interactions and the amount of people that interact with Shift, and as long as Shift keeps refining their process and they get faster and more efficient with it and more professional with it and all that kind of stuff, which, again, not discrediting them in any way, what they've done and accomplished already is very impressive. But like, you go and look at any of the things, whether it be their Discord or any of their social medias or any of that kind of stuff, I think it's awesome. They ended up talking about this, and this is the last note I'll put on it, is they ended up putting out a tweet saying, yo, for immediate release, X1 Esports Co. and Shift have come to terms on an asset purchase agreement that will see X1 acquire Shift for cash, shares, and future incentives plus bonuses. Thank you to the Rocket League community for endless support to help us get here. So what exactly does this mean? Shift will continue to operate as an individual entity, but with the financial backing of X1, and the resources they'll be able to provide will be able to broaden our scope and contribute in more ways than we've been able to up to this point. For being able to pay our contributors to getting into the world of Fantasy RL to running our own tournaments. So again, it's not just roster leaks, articles, but hey, maybe we can start providing tournaments. Maybe we can help the things we just talked about in a video ago about helping out the amateur scene and the bubble scene more. Maybe it'll be things like, I don't know, Fantasy Rocket League. People have always wanted to do fantasy stuff. Maybe they have a different approach to it. They said, while coverage of roster moves and events will always be the soul of Shift, we've always wanted to do more for the world's best esport, and now we have the chance. So it seems like sky's the limit, and I'm super happy for them. I think it's super cool to be able to see the hard work paying off and the community supported in a way, and it seems like they've got some ideas brewing, which is, again, at the end of the day, always better for the consumer. The ability to have more rather than less is always beneficial. Let the community decide where they would like to put their focus. If competition breeds excellence, like, it's so good for the consumer. So the fact that Shift is getting some backing, I don't know what it's going to lead to, but I, for one, am very excited with them. I talked with Achilles a decent amount in London, and again, I'm looking forward to seeing what they end up doing, because between Achilles, J-Ski, and the rest of the staff over there, like, they put in a lot of work, and visually and everything else, like, there's a reason why it's successful. So I'm excited to see what they end up doing. I'm excited to see, as I have, if you guys haven't noticed, taken more and more of a step back because Shift is crushing it. There's no reason for me to get into the rumor stuff, because quite honestly, they do it better. And I don't want to DM kids and young players about what the heck's going on, because Nick is doing it on his own. So kudos to Nick. But I'll still talk about confirmations when organizations and all that kind of stuff say, hey, here's the info. I'll put it out. But if it's rumors and all that kind of stuff, Shift, keep doing what you're doing. Your accuracy is unparalleled. So power to you guys. But I think this is absolutely fantastic. I think for the grand scheme of things, what it could be, and I do hope that they find ways to bring people on and actually do weekly conversations. Like, start streaming on a Shift Twitch, talk about these things on person, have discussions about it, maybe bring these players on and let them discuss these types of things too. Like, I think there's so much potential, and I think it's absolutely massive. Like, if Shift finds a way to broadcast regularly on Twitch, and it becomes your, like, place where you go and talk and listen to, like, roster rumor announcements and all that kind of stuff, like, that's absolutely fantastic. So hats off to Shift, man. It's been what, 2 years or so that Nick's been doing this stuff, and or maybe longer than that, maybe like since 2018, but like Shift has started in like, I think, like 2020, and they've been going hard. So pretty exciting stuff from them, and hopefully it keeps going. So yeah, I'm excited to see what this is, and congratulations to them. But I think it's really important for the scene, and I'm really excited for this offseason. That's all I'm gonna say. Achilles in chat, by the way. Achilles, massive love, man. Good meeting you in London. And it was too hard not to talk about this stuff, but I am excited to see what this stuff turns into for y'all, because again, I know that team over there works hard, and a lot of this stuff is super important for the space. It really is. You guys basically are the spearhead for every off-season conversation when it comes to the scene that really cares about this esports. So kudos to you guys, seriously. But that's gonna do it for today's video. Really looking forward to this one. As a person who is a big fan of like theory crafting and seeing where things are going, and maybe that's where I even shift my own content. Once these rumors come out, I get to be a fan again. I don't have to be the person that's like, hey Lawler, do you know about this thing? I do, because Achilles told me, and now I have to keep my mouth shut. I get to be like, no, don't tell me. Let me theory craft. Let me try to like giga brain this and see if I hit it right. You know, I'm kind of excited for it. It should be a lot of fun, because that's how it was when I was a caster with the RLCS. I tried to remove that stuff as much as possible, so I just got to theory craft and see what happened. So it could be a lot of fun. But again, good stuff, you guys. Good stuff. Appreciate all the love and support. Make sure you guys go support them. I'll drop their socials in the description down below. Any questions, comments, concerns, as always, let me know in the comments, as well as hit subscribe, turn on notifications, thumbs up, as it helps me out greatly. And hopefully we see you in the next one. Peace.